Welcome to the WoodsTalk podcast extra branch. Yes.
Well,
How are you?
not so bad. Hey, what's going? How's it going?
I'm better now for hearing that attempt at pleasantries there.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to attempt it at least.
Yeah, you made the effort, and you're mid biscuit as well, I can tell.
I'm mid biscuit. Yeah, I'm always mid biscuit. I try to make sure that's the status that I'm always in.
Sounds like a shite tribute band, doesn't
it? Mid biscuit were openers for
Corn.
Yeah.
But a spell.
Did I ever say we're not on at the minute? By the way, are we?
Semi. I'll probably keep this in because it's a reasonable start. To be fair,
say, I had a corn joke.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, you know what? I'm not even going to do it because the fact that I've said that it's about corn ruins the punchline. So forget all that.
I've actually heard that joke before. It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Hey, here.
Haven't done a gig since February.
Tell me this. Whether I don't know if you're going to keep this in or not. I've got two lighting options, and the reason is I never asked for the anti-glare and Specsavers, right?
Right.
But it's now coming back to bite me because this light looks better, but it means you can't see my eyeballs, and I look like a child of Satan. Hold on. Does that look better, or does it look like it's too glary?
I don't even really notice the difference, to be honest.
Okay. I'm just trying to do this for you. Right.
ROBBIE MCSHANE's all about the production value, clearly.
Yeah, all about the production of a Zoom podcast.
Tell me this, so you can hear me and all right, because you're coming pretty loud and clear. So
that's good. I can hear you fine. I was going to say I do have a wee mic thing, but I don't know. I think if it's one of those jobs where if I plug it in, you go away entirely in terms of audio. So that's not going to work.
Yeah, it'll be a bit one-sided conversation.
Yeah. You know? I just go, it looks like he's asking me how it's going. So I'm going to answer that.
I suppose like during this whole COVID thing, you could probably guess what people are going to say now, because everyone's sort of got like the 3 default sentences now, and then that's it, isn't it really?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask. What's it been like for you, seeing as you've had have you noticed that, like, how long have you been doing this now?
Well, the podcast itself has been going for a while, but in terms of these sort of Zoom chats, ever since I heard of Zoom, which was when coronavirus became a thing, I had never heard of it. But have you ever heard of it before this pandemic?
Zoom, I heard. It's one of those things where I'd heard about it and then thought that'll never take off. Why would I get that if I've already got Skype? And now here we are.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, have you noticed like a sharp decline in terms of like, or not sharp, but I guess a gradual decline in terms of like the how are you doing answers over the course of your
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, that's a fair sort of question, because you know I tried not to talk about it on any episode, but naturally the Tourette's of COVID kicks in and you can't help but go, oh sure, it's only an hour and a half in the fucking bar, and then sure you have to get a bowl of chips, otherwise you're not allowed, you know what I mean? You can't help but bring it. You could talk about the most obscure thing in the world, like a Zimbabwean Bork tribute act or some shit like that there, and then suddenly you're just going, but still you fucking masks.
Yeah, I turned straight into. I'd say it'll be until March now, probably. Full year. It's the same. Every taxi journey you ever have now is that, and it's a lottery of. He's going to start talking to me about it, and it's going to go one or two ways, which is him obviously being of a sound enough mind, or where he goes full into. It's entirely fabricated, and I'll not be doing anything they're asking me to. Actively coughing into the back seat, trying to get you.
It's definitely like, in terms of the taxi drivers, that's kind of the way it goes. But the secret third option is just legitimate racism from the taxi driver.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's not very secret, I don't think.
So if they're not really, COVID deniers, they're pretty much blaming, the production team behind Bat Soup. Vietnamese fucking twats. Campbell's a lot to fucking answer for.
Campbell's, did you say?
Campbell soup. They do.
Why they said like cannibals?
Well, we don't. We here. You don't know what. You never know.
Could be cannibals.
Humans are very rich, so I'd say every so often you need a palate cleanser, maybe a batch soup. But
yeah,
you know,
I would love to know. It's one of those ones where I guess I wonder, what like was it worth it? Do you think like it was? Do you think it was a great, like it was a good enough eat that you're like this was worth the pandemic?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, because I wonder, did the person come up with bat soup in the comfort of his or her own home? So it's like a drunken thing where you're like, I've got some soup, I'm starving though, so I'm going to take a hurley bat to that bat outside and beat the fuck out of it, stick it in the soup. Or is it like a butcher's special at a local restaurant where they're like $14.95 and you can get garlic spuds with it? And
I was gonna say it's one of those things where it's the packed, like bat is one of the extra things where it's like it's $14.99. You get, was it 2 steaks, 2 pork and leg sausages, and we'll chuck in a bat just in case one maybe put something up there with that. And then, but I would love to know. I would love to. There's 2 things I would love to know. If they were asked like, would you do it again? Would they go 100%? Like I was starving and I would do it again. And also, like it would be very interesting to know, like, have they ever been like, they're obviously never going to be identified, whoever that's come from. But it would be class to think like they're just bumbling about going, geez, this is mental, not knowing they were patient zero.
Because I wonder, is it definitely a man or a woman? Do we know exactly in terms of gender?
I'd say it's definitely a man or a woman now.
Yeah, it's one of the 2, if not the latter.
Well, but that's your podcast cancelled now.
Oh, for sure. I feel bad for the one chef who, over the next couple of years, is going to focus on cooking bat as a delicacy and go like, I'm going to make a fucking fortune. And now you couldn't fucking couldn't give it away.
Yeah, I need to rehabilitate the image of bats in the light of this now. I don't want everybody scared of it. Robert Pattinson's salary is dependent on me making a very nice bat souffle.
Bat souffle. Here's the bat goujons, chips, curry and cheese. Love it. It does feel like a very drunken idea, though. The idea of bat soup, you know, you just combine 2 things because you're blocked and you're skint, so you don't have the luxury of Deliveroo or Domino's. Where you're like,
it does. It does feel like something you're getting in that kebab shop next to Lavery's. It's at the bottom of the menu. Yeah, and it's $2.95, and you're like, well, I could lose that. Let's see what this is like.
I think their motto is, if it's alive, you can deep fry it.
If it's alive, you can order
it. Bit of flour over it and stick it in the oil. So it is definitely, I agree with you that it's hard not to come back around to COVID, even though we've just done it for like 3 minutes.
Yeah. By the time it's worked,
yeah, but I think it's weird. It's definitely, you can't help it. You really can't help it.
No, it's impossible to. I wonder, like, because it's one of those ones I've been wondering about whether or not, because everybody compares it to, like, everybody always says like, oh, this is our thing, and they're like, well, they used to, you know, loads of people had to go through a war, and I'm like, this one's, you know, slightly different, but it's a bit less, you know, a bit less people shooting at you. But I wonder if I would wonder if during those times, if it was a similar scenario in terms of conversation, or if because it wasn't really happening in your life, that you didn't really, it didn't even come up. You were just like, that's happening over there in a different country. We're here. Because I mean, at the minute, you can't, this isn't a case of like, it's a big, massive event that we're having to deal with in our life. It's something that's very aggressively constant.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely something I kind of laughed at it when it was first, you know, when there was whispers of it in China, and I was like, oh, sure, that won't affect us. Yeah, it'll never affect us. And I was doing bits about it, and then I came back and kicked me in the balls. I'm like, lockdown? What the fuck? Like,
yeah, straight away, yeah.
And then
whispers in China. That's that new Clint Eastwood, isn't it?
He directed it. Of course he did. Of course he fucking did. Yeah. He loves directing.
Yeah, but no, I know what you mean. We were on a flight to do. I was on a flight to do a couple of gigs in London, and it was the same thing where I was just like, whatever. And on the bus on the way to the flight was whenever they'd announced, like, it was like World Health Organization announces it's a pandemic, and the immediate stress of just like, nothing has changed in my life, but they've announced that, and I was like, this plane's going to go down, a boy's going to shoot me. I don't know what's going to happen. And then whenever we came back over, yeah, it's just now been 7 months of me inside working from home, which was fun.
How you finding it overall now that you've done it for what, since March-ish, February-ish, March sort of it?
It was fine for the first 3 months. I was like, class, sit and do nothing. This is the best. I could do this for the rest of my life. But the last month or so has been very like looking for cheap ropes online, just to fucking end it. But it's like my job's grand. Like it's not. I enjoy it, but I don't think there's anything that anybody could enjoy indoors for this length of period unless you're like, what, I don't know, mattress tester, binge watcher is your job title. I don't know what you can be doing.
Plaster.
Yeah, plaster. But even then, that's one thing. Yeah, that's workman was a busman's holiday. The one thing on that, like the plaster thing, is I've been watching. It's a double whammy of there's workmen in sorting out the flat upstairs above us, and also I've been rewatching The Sopranos. So anytime I see anything with construction, I'm like, that's the life there. Just sitting in the front of a van, smoking fags and eating crisps. That's all they. That's their whole life.
Yeah.
I would easily change that after doing all this. You get to wear them, the trousers that have 5,000 pockets on them.
Oh, that'd be so handy.
Mm-hmm. What's on them?
Like bat goujons, just have one on each one, and then you can.
Bat goujons, you can get in there. Well, it's always your pockets. Your pockets would have to be filled with Golden Wonder salt and vinegar from a multi-pack. 2 boxes of Regal Filter that have 2 fags each left in them, and then it's here's a milk and a scratch card that you won £5 on a month ago, but you haven't got around to cashing it in yet.
And then another scratch card that's been sitting there so long, you're not sure anymore, but you can't. Yeah. You can't part with it, so you're like, that could be £40 I've got there.
Is that as in he scratched it and he hasn't been able to work out what the symbols mean, or is that it's unscratched and he doesn't know what's on it?
Yeah, I've got a tree. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
it means you've won a voucher for Spar.
Yeah, tree is you get Bill Gates pin code. We go work away.
Being a builder would be great, in that every time you finish work, you're finished, but the job generally isn't. So you leave at 5 o'clock with 3/4 of a ceiling done, and you're like, that's me done for the day. You know, it's quite cheeky. We're like, I'll finish it tomorrow, sure. Sleep well.
And there is like an attitude. Okay, well, obviously, because I'd imagine they're just working till like it needs to be finished by a date. But in terms of kind of monitor, there's definitely like a pure heavy-handed nature, because they even come down. I was working in the living room. They come down banging on the door, and they had like chippies with them, and they needed a fork to eat the chippy. So I was like, I give him a fork, and he goes, "Well, bring it back down." I went into the hall 2 days later. Both forks are just lying on the ground outside. Oh,
negligent of forks. No manners. Yeah. No manners.
And there's the front door that both, because we're in the bottom floor of like a 2-story house, but the front door obviously is shared. There's a wee hall where it splits into 2, but then like the front door is there. And within like 2 days of them being there, I went to like close the door behind me with the wee handle, and there's just nothing there. And I looked, and they just ripped the handle off the front door. I was like, how could you be ruining so many things in such a short window when your job is to genuinely renovate this entire property?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like interesting that they just get a date where they're like, you're doing this job, it has to be done by the end of the month. Yeah. So it's kind of like when you were in school and they go, you have 2 months to do this essay, and then you just did it the night before. But it's a wee bit different about me. Like, I'll do a wee bit now and chill out for a couple of weeks and steal cutlery and manhandle handles, and then I'll do it the day before. Full fucking patio.
Yeah.
It's a great job.
It would be handy enough, one coat of paint around the full thing.
I love the classic dad response when you say you would go into that sort of job. They're like, you'll never be able to work in that sort of job. See that? Plumbing, electrician, you're always going to have electric. You're always going to take a shite. You're going to stability. You're sitting there doing stand-up, you wee faggot.
Yeah. It's straight to the profanities with that.
Oh,
nothing linked to it at all. But,
yeah.
That's as well. Mick, Mick from the obviously the Dear Wedding. Mick Owens.
Yes, I'm aware.
I used to live with Mick. He would always say, to me that his dad or granddad or somebody used to always say to him, like, if you can play music, you'll never be able to work. And now it's 2020, and we're like,
He's live streaming gigs.
I can predict that one. He's got the deal. I'm telling you. He's the last time I was speaking to him, he said it's just because they're not. I don't know why the laws changed that way, but it's just they play a recording of him, so he's working, but he's off.
Yeah, I spoke to. Do you know Brona Broderick? Do you know Brona? Through Mick?
I think so. She used to sing with Mick a bit.
Yeah, she was involved with like their album stuff. She did this last week, and she's doing the same for it was for the points, wasn't it? Where they play you on a projector and put like your PayPal details in the bottom corner. But she was saying they had to go in during the day when there's no fucker in there and film them singing for 2 hours, but in between the songs going, thank you, cheers for that, and it's £2 for a Guinness, or half a Guinness, and
you're just naming the price. Here's the thing, at that stage, right, if you're just going, we're just going to play a pre-recording, nothing against them too, obviously, both fantastic musicians, but if you're at that stage, would you not just we'll just stick on like Radiohead at Glastonbury 2003, or like, like Prince at the Super Bowl, like we can have anybody now.
Yeah, the sky's the limit now, and you're stuck with Mick Owens. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, Prince is playing the points this week.
Yeah. Imagine, particularly like if you went in and you were a wee bit off your head, if you were smoking a wee bit, and just like, man, Prince is over there, man. So he is. Look at him, we midget her. But again,
just a normal guy.
Yeah, just like sitting there with like a Greg's in between chins, sausage and bean melt.
Yeah.
But it's a good point that you said about Mick and Brona, because they're just going in, and maybe this is more so in case of Mick, where it's like he's doing covers anyway. So as you say, why not just play the people who wrote the songs instead of just have Mick going, "You're my Wonderwall." You know what I mean? Just play. You've got YouTube.
Play the music videos. Play whatever the best live thing is. Just go like this week at the points is going to be Oxygen 2006.
It's the Verve.
Yeah.
I wonder would they do that for comedians then? Do you think would that be weird if they just play us in Lavery's Bunker or Mr. Tom?
Well, yeah, I think it would work out well. I mean, it would work out as probably the same reaction anyway, which is just people talking over the top of you and then you leave. But
yeah,
at least you wouldn't have to suffer at this time. It would also be good though if they could play like they play one of yours. You pick a set that you recorded before somewhere else where it's got a good reaction, and you play that. And then you also attend the gig, tell people to fuck up and stuff, and you're like trying to see if they laugh, explaining the joke to them as well if they don't laugh. Yeah. I'm not too tapping them on the shoulder.
I would go in like glasses off and pretend it's not me and be like, "This guy's lethal. What do you hear this bit? What do you hear this?" But again, it's your point where it's like, why would we watch Rory Woods or Robbie McShane when we can just put on Eddie Murphy Raw?
Exactly. Stick that on. Have that on every night.
Yeah. And
charge in and go like charge in $26.50 a night. Eddie Murphy.
Murphy's in the point. Technically is, but it's the equivalent of like. Do you remember like was it Justin Timberlake was featured on the last Michael Jackson album, which is a real thing,
right?
And any of his live shows they had like a hologram of MJ beside him.
Oh,
I mean, it's kind of like that. We're like, do we need to rely on holograms now for entertainment? We're like, we don't.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
I find those particularly haunting. Like the whole, and like whenever you do the thing, like I think whenever they had the 2-pack one, he was saying stuff that he's never said, and I'm going, this is too much. Enough now. Stop technology. Take me. All iPhones have been discontinued. Nokia 3310s are now mandatory. Everything else has been discontinued entirely. I don't want any more of that technology. I said to a friend of mine the other day, the guy that I live with, I said, what's going to happen is they're going to announce that BTS was an experiment and that they're all AI. And they've been doing it for, 5 years. And every song that's been written by them is just a program that just like, they feed every song into it and they generate it in popularity. And the moment that comes in, I said, well, the joke we've been doing is at the moment they give AI rights, I'll be voting DUP. That's complete 180 on my opinions. Just staunch conservative on everything.
I have to say, I like what you were saying there about the idea of having holograms on stage, because these people usually died quite a long time ago. So as you say, they're talking about things or rapping about things that are current now that weren't even a thing when they were alive. So when Tupac's talking about contactless and Brexit, you're like, here, fuck up, Tupac. What are you at? MJ's talking about, you know, consent and stuff like that. You're like, you didn't have that. You fucking
Yeah, they reanimate people from the dead to like atone for their sins by making them do songs about crimes they were doing.
There's a hologram of Savile doing a fucking 5K in Belfast next month.
Yeah. 5K for Make a Wish.
I can't wait for the next Bee Gees gig, and I'm gonna tell you that. It'll be fucking interesting. Either side of the live one.
Yeah. Oh dear. That'd be good. I think they could have now, just, he's not even dead, but they could just have, I don't know. No, I was gonna say I was trying to think of something where they could have Cosby get up, and but he does all like material that, like, he just does edgy stuff now, and you're like, well, that seems to fit a bit better.
Yeah, with his social life, yeah.
Yeah, like he's doing like Dice Clay.
That's definitely a thing I talked about on a smaller scale, where it was like at the comedians' Christmas do in Lavery's every year, we should just pull all the names from a hat from a lineup, and that person has to do the set of the other person on. So say me and you were on, and you had to do McCann, or you had to do you know what I mean? Do Dave's act, and he had to do yours and stuff. I think that would be, nobody else would like it. The crowd would hate it, but we'd love it.
Oh, yeah, because they would also go like, am I meant to know that this is somebody else's jokes, or what's going on? Like everybody else, they're all laughing at it. Because I could gladly do it. I would love, though, even if he's not there, I would gladly do an hour of Paddy McGahey. I just do it. I want all his jokes anyway, so I just do that for as long as anybody wants.
Paddy McGahey, for anybody watching us who doesn't know him, is like the just honest team, just heart and soul of Northern Irish comedy. Oh, nobody dislikes him. He's just genius. Except
why can comedians not do covers?
What, sorry?
Why can comedians not do covers? Because I would just love to just like in the middle of a set, if it's dying, just chuck in a few covers of Paddy, and then back to my stuff, have it die down again.
Would you deliver it as Paddy, or would you stick to your style, so doing Paddy's jokes in the cadence of Roberto McShane?
Well, it would just mean that I would do what is a 20-second joke over the course of 5 minutes, and
with your arms folded.
But I don't know. I don't think there's that much of a difference. I could probably just you just have to sound a wee bit more positive about life, and you can do him no bother.
Yeah. Have you got that in
my brother's wedding?
No one else is going to know what we're fucking chatting about. Just go see Paddy McGahey live. That's that sorted.
I need to keep looking up at the wee recording sign in the top left to remember this, because otherwise I'm like, guess I'll just go down. Which is very, very niche conversation. Do you remember that thing you were chatting about the last time there? How did you get on with that? Like stuff like that.
So tell me this, have you done much stand-up since all the restrictions have been somewhat lifted?
I have not done, I'm trying to think now, that gig that we did in London, those couple of those gigs, there was, I think it was 3 in London I had, and whenever I came back, everything was locked down. So, and then the first ones back were, I did 5 of Vittorio's back garden ones, I think, 5 of the 7 or whatever it was. I did 2 in the Hatfield, and I did that Lavery's one with Geddes. But apart from that, nothing. I haven't had anything in a month. It seems like it's died back down again quite quickly.
Yeah, man, it went from sort of reasonable amounts of gigs because you were just happy to see them. You know, it was weird to get like Facebook invites and see posters for things again.
Yeah.
There was months of just, the only thing social media was people bragging about how productive they were being. Or not, where they were like, I've had 19 tins of Smithwick's this morning. Or it was like, I learned how to make banana bread and rim perfectly.
Oh yeah, those are the only 2. Yeah, 19 tins of Smithwick and a banana bread are the only 2 genres, I suppose. Or sorry, the third option was people who had very quickly become clinically unwell and had just believe any article that's put up about anything ever. I've deleted Facebook now because, very cliche reason, obviously, but there's so many people that I see that I like in real life that I know that they're not mental because I've spoken to them, but their Facebook seems to say quite the opposite. So I've decided to get rid of that, and I feel better for it. But no, in terms of gigs, I mean, how did you find? What was your first one back?
First one back was the gig in Colin's office that we did.
I heard that was great. Yeah, how did you find it?
I was rusty as fuck, but I enjoyed it, and it's very weird. I don't know if you find this, that it's nervous enough coming back to stand up as a comedian, but you could tell the crowd, they didn't know how to be a crowd. It was like rustic for them, where they're like, they didn't want to be the first one to laugh. They were scared about sneezing, coughing, making any, do you know what I mean? So they were as self-conscious, if not more so, than we were. So I think that's going to take time to get used to social distancing. And then obviously, I haven't been to any of the Limelight shows that Colin or Shane did, but that seemed to be something where even that was a bit unusual. Very well run, but you can't get up for any. You have to have a reason to get out of your seat, i.e. you're going for a piss or you're leaving. Essentially, you can't just go and dander to your mate now, because you go, oh fuck, what's happening, Robbie? And you dander over across the room. You can't do that anymore. So I think it's going to take serious time for crowds to learn how to be crowds again, and for us to remember how to fucking do this fucking thing. To be honest, well, that's so unusual.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to raise. Was, I mean, did you find? I wouldn't say that I felt. The first 30 seconds, I felt like as nervous as the first time I did it, and then it felt all right again. And the gigs after that were grand, but I was quite pleased to know that, like, even with a gap that large, you get into the rhythm of it again quite quickly. Because I don't know about you, but there was a couple of people I was speaking to who'd said that, like, they'd written all this stuff over lockdown and they were going to try it out for the first gig back, and I was like, first one back, I'm absolutely not doing, like, you need one to kind of get back into it. So I did old stuff for the first one back, and then tried to do new stuff after that. But it was I was definitely a very odd feeling, and I think you're right about the crowds. The Vittorio ones were great because it was outdoors, it didn't feel as pressured, which I thought would be the reverse. I thought the outdoors, like all that kind of where you can hear silence, like I thought that would cause an issue, but it seemed to work better because it wasn't as quiet then. It wasn't like whenever you're doing, a room and there's the first 10 seconds of the inside of a comedy room where nobody's laughing is like panic inducing for you and the audience. But whenever you're outside, because you can there are, I guess, like the distant sounds of cars and stuff, it did feel like everybody was just kind of hanging out. It felt a bit more casual. So I definitely had a lot better crack with the outdoor ones than I did indoor. Well, Gaddis's one was great, but that's also because there was 200 people at the Limelight. So
yeah, that's always handy.
All you have to do is get a couple.
It's very unusual, but I think I enjoyed how there was a lot of people around the time that Vittorio announced that he was starting a run of gigs in his garden. The amount of people are like, I'm not fucking doing that. And then after about 2 or 3, people are like, oh, can I do it? Because I wasn't like that, but I only did the last one. I was supposed to do the 5th, then it was cancelled because of the weather. Then he offered me the next one, and I was in Strabane, so I ended up just doing the very last gig. But it was great. But again, I think like you have to maybe adapt now to the fact that a normal comedy club is going to be a real privilege now, whereas you're going to have to look into garden gigs, offices, outdoor stuff, and even like drive-through gigs and stuff, which I don't think would affect you too much because you seem to like playing in unusual places. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you did an Edinburgh preview in Lush. To be honest, that would be your vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was gonna try and do it in like a JD Sports, but in the changing rooms.
But closed down.
Oh well, yeah, it's close. Sorry, what's the one that's in? I don't know. Some sports. That's what they're all called. But I was gonna go for that. Well, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't want to do the drive-in ones now. I know Mickey did them, and he said it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it, and he says because people just beep. You're going, I don't know if that means they want me to get off. I don't know if it means that they like the joke. I don't know if it means that they want me to keep going. Like there's no, and you're also just playing, like, think about how your brain's been geared and how your kind of muscle is meant to like work in terms of what you're doing for stand-up, where how you're going to react to what the audience is reacting to. Yeah. And it would be like being dropped on a different planet if you hit your punchline, and it's like, it sounds like somebody's skidding out of the way to hit you.
I think fundamentally the fact that you're not going to hear any laughter, it defeats the. I don't think anybody, no matter how good the act is going to open their door and be like, and then close it again and be back in and be like, that was good, very clever, very well paced. That particular bit of stand up there. And I don't like the idea of getting hackled by a Nissan Micra, by the way.
Yeah.
any Fords?
Yeah. You're getting heckled by boys like doing donuts. Definitely.
Yeah. You're getting drowned out by like their speaker system in their car. We were just being drowned out by King of My Castle. And you're like, oh, isn't pick and mix deer? Tell you what.
The classic isn't pick and mix deer material.
Any Vox?
Yeah. Or they roll down the window to the sound of another comedian special playing in the car.
Eddie Murphy Raw again.
Again, Eddie Murphy Raw. Yeah.
We could have went to the points and be inside. Folks like, what are we here in Craigavon?
Yeah, they play Eddie Murphy Raw so that it looks like it's me doing that material.
I think whenever you do your next full show, you have to wear like a purple leather suit in tribute to Eddie Murphy Raw, I think. Yeah,
and it's way too loose, and or no, the trousers are way too loose, but the jacket's way too tight.
It's like a feast for the eyes.
Yeah, and I don't move either. I still do what I'm doing, where I'm just standing very still.
You have to get the hands.
Yeah, that's one of the go-to for the middle part of one of the jokes, or if I'm pretending to read something off a bit of paper.
Yeah.
The McShane classic. I don't know. The Limelight one. If you get a chance to do that, definitely do it because it was class. But the only thing that was difficult was there's about a minute. I'd lost them for about a minute because at the start of a joke they started to bring out all the pizza to the tables and take all the orders. And because it's cabaret, then it's just like 20 staff are talking to all these tables. And the tables are then having to talk back to them, and then the tables start talking to each other because they're all facing each other. So it's hard to kind of navigate the staff service. It's the same as like if you've ever done any corporate gig, and like I've done one before where I was going grand, and about 5 minutes in, 6 waiters come out with about 200 goujons and 5 liters of mayo, putting it down on the table, and I'm going like I'm not beating that. I'm not gonna get their attention back. So you have to just stop. You have to address it. But I don't really do that much crowd work, so you just have to try and wing
it. I think like that annoys me for 2 reasons. And that if it's just normal mayonnaise, I don't agree with normal mayonnaise, so that would annoy me. And then it reminds me of any corporate work I've done has usually been, I did this thing at Christmas dinner in the Europa for the Accounting Society of Northern Ireland. And it was like it's packed, it was massive amount of people. And in the email, they were like, blah, 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 here's how long we want you to do. And like when your career's going well, but they end the email booking you going, you're on after the soup. Soup du jour.
That'd be a good Edinburgh.
Woods, beef.
Yeah, that'd be a good Edinburgh show name for you, Rory Woods after the soup.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's the thing I was wondering about the Limelight gig in particular, because I was booked for it, but it was this month. So now with this circuit breaker, it's not, so I don't know if it's going to be rescheduled or how that's working, but is it can the gig start before the food arrives, or does it legally, you can't start the gig until the food is there? So if
I've
whatever run late, does that make the gig run late?
No, I've got no idea how it's, what Limelight are like, where they're very good for timing, where they kind of, they make sure they've stuck to it, but not kind of pressuring you to be back for a certain time. But we still had, it started earlier, you see, and had a longer break. So I think that they probably added that cushion in so that they can get all that stuff out. But I didn't even think that was part of the, because I didn't even think that was part of the law. I just assumed they were like, I was like, that's well nice of them to throw in pizza.
Again, I thought that as well, to be honest, but it seems now you need to have food.
It must be part of the regulation, but it would be nice if they, because I don't know if you did any of those Hatfield gigs that were back as well, but they had served food right before.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know what's better, because whenever you're talking to somebody who's just had like 3 rounds of New York cheesecake, you can see them fading behind the eyes. Yeah. But then again, same thing if you're playing to people who are having to like talk to the staff, you're already losing like half the room. So yeah. I don't know what's better or worse.
Yeah, I don't know why my brain sort of farted there when you were talking, but I, for some reason, thought that you said New Lodge cheesecake, and I was like, what the fuck would that be?
That is genuinely like a slice of, we know easy singles on a slice of digestive.
Yeah, just sauteed in petrol.
As all their dishes come.
Oh, flambe, flambe. Yeah, I think like it's going to be weird, the whole food thing, because again, I don't understand the whole food thing in general outside of gigs where it's like you need to eat to stay in the bar, and I'm wondering what constitutes like, does each individual person need to eat, or would literally a bowl of halloumi fries between 13 of these to do the job?
Well, let me tell you from experience, every person, and it has to be either a main or a couple of sides. So we were out one day for the whatever, I can't remember what rugby was on, and we got to the place at about 3 that we booked, and yet we ordered. We were going to eat anyway, so we ordered the food grand, and then had loads of drinks, and then 2 hours later, that your food, I don't know if it's some kind of digestive clause they put in there, but 2 hours later you have to order again.
Right.
So I had like a burger and chips, and then about 6 pints, and then had to have a full pizza, and then had to go home and pass away.
My mother-in-law was telling me that there's a bar in Derry. I legit can't remember what it's called, but they don't do food. So what they did to sort of be able to open again, whilst under the ruse of providing food for people, was they went to like a pizza place nearby and bought empty pizza boxes off them. So like a couple of hundred of those empty pizza boxes, and then charged the people who were in having pints in the bar to go, well, if you want to stay, you have to buy this pizza that doesn't have a pizza in it. And it was like £8 for an empty pizza box, just so you can place it in front of you. So the cops go in and go, oh, margarita.
Well, why though? At that stage, surely you should just be given the business, like just buy the pizza.
Exactly. It's so dumb.
Not paying £8 for a box. I don't care if it's gold plated. I'm not taking that with me.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, is that applicable with, it was just handy that bar is obviously close to a pizza place, but I'm wondering if you were a bar in an unusual location and then all you had was like a fondue place, would you have to buy all the
every table has to be fitted with like whatever the apparatus is to have it flowing down.
Like the big kebab thing that you have, the big, or like
everyone's got a doner spinner thing.
Just a load of toast on a spit roast.
They just have like it's an open buffet and everybody has to pay, or it's like Cosmo, whatever you call that place. You have to go in, there's like 50 cuisines.
Oh, have you ever been there?
Idea. Cosmo?
Yeah.
I have.
What is the Robbie McShane official review of Cosmo? I'd be keen to know.
I think it's fine. I think it's not somewhere this is going to sound very vague. It's not somewhere you go. But whenever it's been booked for something, because here's what always happens is if you work anywhere that has to have like a work lunch or a work like leave and do for somebody, it's the only place that can take like 30 people or whatever it is.
That's true.
So you have to go there. I have it. I like it I think I've maybe been there 3 times in my life. I like it hungover because I just go, there's the money. Please let me pick that, because then I will just have everything, obviously. Yeah. But me, not buffets, but like those kind of places in general, I never really gravitated towards. Me and McCann went to one whenever we were doing that tour of Central Europe, and it was in I think it was in Budapest, but it was like £28 for all you can eat. But now, which I am going to have maybe like a couple of slices of pizza.
Yeah, that's maybe
£8. Yeah. So, and then I'm paying £28, and I just go grand. And McCann goes, "Don't worry, I'll get this." And he's going back. He's getting all the desserts. He's getting everything, and I'm going at that. All this stuff looks stinking, because he's a wild man for sushi, so he's happy enough to just sit and take like loads of wee plates and stuff. But no, not for me. The price, the content ratio.
Yeah,
bad darts.
It's very cheeky in the way that it's so popular. You would have to book to go to Cosmo. You couldn't really go last minute on the weekend, but it's just a vast array of mediocre stuff. It's so cheeky to go, we have all this stuff, it's done okay, instead of going, we've got one thing that we do well, like taquitos, going, we just do tacos, they're lethal. Cosmo, we do fucking 78 different nationalities of food. It's not great, but you have it's not great, but you have choice. That should be the official motto. That's bland.
Yeah, that's the trade-off is, yeah.
But
I can't remember who said it, but I remember seeing, I can't remember who it was like an interview with somebody, and they were looking at the menu for a place, and they went, I like seeing a restaurant with a massive menu because they do all of it really well.
Yeah. Do you know what that is? That is Will Ferrell and Comedians in Cars getting coffee. That's what that is.
No, it's Stephen Colbert, I think, is it?
I think it's Will Ferrell, but you could be right.
You might be right.
But either way,
it's one of the two. Definitely Comedians in Cars.
Yeah.
But if I go anywhere and it's they give you like War and Peace, and it's all the different, like a full dossier of about a million dishes. I'm not.
Yeah.
I might as well pick anything because none of them's going to be that good. Because like you said, even like Bunsen, somewhere like that, that's in Ireland. I don't know if it's just anywhere outside Ireland chain, but like somewhere where the menu is, would you like a burger or would you like a cheeseburger?
Would you like a burger, a cheeseburger, or do you want to leave? Because you can't.
Or you can't have neither, but you'll not be allowed to stay. Like anywhere that does that, because basically what that means is that if you can't do any of them right, there's no reason for anybody to turn up ever. So you have to be nailing it.
Yeah, I think like when you go somewhere like Cosmo, because every time I've been, they've added more and more stuff. For like the first time I ever went, there was none of the like. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know that like they've got live cooking stations where someone who's suicidal is going to pan fry some halloumi for you. And then they had like an American section when I was there, and like hot dogs and shite burgers and stuff. But I think it's a bad sign when you're sitting at the table and you're like, can we get a look at the basic menu? And they have to get like that powder that like weightlifters use. I'm just like forklift.
They have to keep up with the trends. They've got a wet market now, and they've got as you said, there is now just a cuisine called BAT, which is all the different ways. And it's a boy. The way they have it set up, like you said, is they have the food out the front, but behind is a glass box of a guy in a cage, like Crystal Maze, with about 100 bats. And he's trying to grab them down, frying them up.
Yeah, it's like picking a lobster. We're like, I like a look at that one. He looks a bit podgy. I'll take that one. Scrambled.
Yeah, I would like any of them that don't seem like they've got a family or a mortgage as one the lobsters that I like.
You like the drifter bats?
Yeah, but any bats you have that are on death row at the minute, I would feel a bit less guilty for whatever they've done.
I think like the thing that annoys me, and this is just in general, but it's sort of when you brought up the whole limelight thing, it sort of came back into my head. Whereas like, when people are now ordering drinks, people have to get used to table service now for their drinks, and unless you're a lunatic, you generally stick to the same drink for at least 5 or 6, and then maybe you change it up if it's an all-day thing.
Yeah.
Every time the waitress comes down, going, "Do you want another drink?" You're like, and you're like, you know what you're going to get, and you know you're getting another one, so just fucking order pint of Rockshore. Instead I go, shit.
Anybody, they should have it as policy where anytime anybody makes that face, the bar staff just goes Rockshore. They just put it in.
The Rockshore face.
Yeah, or no, they don't ask. They just come over to the table and go, 4 more Rockshore.
You just WhatsApp the bar a picture and be like, just keep the Rockshore coming until I get arrested, until my tag goes off.
I knew a guy. Do you like Rockshore, by the way?
I've had it. It's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. It tastes fine. But like, there's a couple of beers that I'm not really that fussed on, and like I've never really got into Carlsberg or anything. But there's a type of lad I think that likes Carlsberg, and there was one time we were out. This was years ago now. We were just in Limavady, and there was 4 of us drinking during the day, and every round was me, 2 of the other lads, and then this one guy, where the 3 of us were getting Guinness, and he got a Carlsberg, right? So 3 Guinness and a Carlsberg. So it was my round, and I got 3 Guinness and a Carlsberg. It was the second guy's round, he got 3 Guinness and a Carlsberg. It was the third guy's round, he got 3 Guinness and a Carlsberg. I came to the Carlsberg guy's round, and he came back down. We seen him coming back down, and he had 4 pints of Carlsberg, right? And we went, "Sir," and he goes, "Oh, fuck up, boys!" But he knew rightly. And I don't know what is that psychology where you went like, "This is happening. It's my beer, and everybody must now have it for this round."
Yeah.
I tell you what, just have it. You'll love it.
It's my money, so fuck up. You're drinking
my money.
You're getting the creme de menthe, and you'll like it.
Yeah. Creme de menthe. What is that? Is that like a liqueur or like a mint thing, or what is that?
I think it's cream of the month. I know.
I think it's cream of the month in French.
I know it's like lime, like acidic highlighter green. I know it's quite.
Yeah.
It's like glow in the dark, but I've never actually had it. There's some drinks where like you see people drinking certain things all night, and you're like, I don't like. There's certain drinks that are good if you've one of them. Like you see people like fancy constantly drinking like espresso martinis all night. I
don't know how you're. Yeah, I would be awake for 3 days before hanging myself because I would be like, I'm now just up. My permanent status is up. But anything that is that like nuclear color where it's like it glows inside when people take a shot down, or anything with like those milk things, I never got. Same again. Whenever I've had nights in McCann where he's drank like White Russians the whole night, and I'd be sick after 3 of them.
I've done that, and I've had the White Russian hangover. I was speaking to someone recently about this, and there's something about the hangover, and then the fact that there's 2 liters of fucking semi-skimmed just lying in your stomach, curdling all night, in amongst your fucking bat kebab or your. Do you know what I mean? There's so much. So people go like, "Oh, it gives me a wild bad hangover." Of course it does, because you drank 2 liters of milk. Doesn't matter if there was alcohol or not.
That's the only version of. Oh no, it was the mixer that did it to me. That makes sense, because see, anytime you meet anybody and they go, it's the Red Bull, that's what gives you the hangover, the sugar and that, and I'm like, you had a 10 glass of Glens. I think it was probably the booze.
My favorite thing is, you know, when you see bars that are maybe quite new or whatever, but they can't really afford to get a recognized energy drink, but they need to offer something, so that you get that stuff you've never heard of, or like for 3 quid you can get a vodka and shark ballocks. Oh, speaking of milk, I remember once my roommate was so skint in uni, we were lying watching, we had like a chipped Virgin Media box, so we were watching porn essentially, but no, like when you're just watching it, just like for the craft, and no, you wouldn't know, but it was good, but it was really softcore, so it was just basically, you know, 2 Vietnamese women having a penalty shootout naked. That was basically it. Seriously. So he was sitting there, and basically he was so skint, he just got like 2 liters of milk from the fridge and a plate of just like chicken goujons, and he was just eating away at it, you know, just casually, and we were chatting away, and then just out of nowhere, just and just all over the place, and he was like, yeah, that was the milk, and I was like, I think it's a copious amount of milk and chicken goujons that you've had in 3 minutes.
Yes, and then imagine that combination of food and drink along with the content you're watching on the TV. It's not, your mind isn't going to exactly, you know, digest that down nicely.
You have to match the bukkake in the living room.
I like just the idea that like you have to have that chipped. Like there's a boy, like the same way that your dad took your PS2 to a boy that he knows. That's been out of work his whole life and seems to just always be doing this kind of job where you have to take to him and explain, you know, I need this TV chipped for this content. Yeah,
it's a real thing. We basically, when we were it was Sandymouth in Stranmillis when I was in my second year, and we basically got Virgin Media in for our internet provider because there was a Virgin Media guy sleeping in his van outside our house. And he was called, his name was Marty, so we called him Virgin Marty, and he basically set us up on that day, but like he must have spoke for about 40 minutes before we twigged what he was getting at, because I think legally he can't go, do you want your fucking backs chipped? He has to kind of hint. He's like, you know, I know someone who could maybe enhance your viewing experience. And it was like all the sports, all the porn, all the movies and stuff like that there. So
he flips that one in the middle, so it's like as if you go, that is actually the 3 things that always come together. You're right.
Yeah, he did sort of sneak it in where he's like, you get all the sports, get all the documentaries, fucking, you get movies, you get all the music channels. What was that thing in the middle? Fisting.
Chris goes, all the sports, all the movies, but out there, bit of the it's legally down as bit of that there. one word.
Bit of the slamming of the gammon.
Yeah. I never understood where the term blue came from. Do you remember you always hear Peter Kay talking about blue?
Oh yeah, a bit of blue. Yeah, I don't get that either.
There must be some kind of link to I wonder if it was the color of the, like what the background was for maybe the rated R symbol for certification or something like that. I don't know.
It must have been.
That's too much. Maybe too much thought for people that are in this industry.
I'm googling that right now because you still hear the odd person say that was like this material is very blue. So yeah. Why is
blue material can only be in reference to Bernard Manning, Roy Chubby Brown, or Jim Davison.
Yeah, I'd say so. Let me see.
The blue trinity.
Why do we associate the color blue with swearing? That might be something.
Yeah, have a look at it.
See. It's hard. Yeah, there's so. See, this won't load now. This is obviously a common fucking topic.
It's the most cliche podcast topic. It's on all of them.
Working blue refers to the act of using curse words and discussing things that people would not discuss in polite society. We knew that.
Polite society?
Yeah, I have no fucking idea there, but I'll kill myself, sure.
It's the mystery itself is what keeps me going. I don't want the answer.
It keeps you awake at night. Fuck's sake.
Did you? Oh dear.
Yeah, it's such a weird time to be doing shit. Like I can't get over, the way things are now. And again, that is the norm now. I think I need to sort of appreciate that it's not really going to change.
Normal. I don't know what it's going to be like. I mean, I really don't feel, like I said, it's annoying that stuff can't be happening, but I don't feel as bad because it's not the same feeling as missing out on something because it's not happening. Like I used to hate whenever, like during stand-up, I used to always hate seeing, like, not hate it, but you used to always get that feeling of whenever there looks like it's a really good lineup and a really good gig and you're not on the gig, you're going, I wish I was doing that gig. But like I don't have, it's not a feeling, it's not because I'm not doing the stand-up, it's because I can see that the thing is happening and it would be really good to be on the gig. Whereas now, because nothing's happening, it's just whatever. And I think what it has done anyway, for a lot of people, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but you come to a lot of those kind of quite haunting realizations where you're going, because you're not moving anymore, you're like, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with this? Why am I in this thing? I'm this age. I thought by this stage I would have these things done, and I'm just here.
Yeah, the perspective, some people say that, it gave me wonderful perspective, this whole lockdown situation, whereas perspective was thrust on most people. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, thrust is the right word.
I've had this verruca for a year and I still haven't done anything about it. You know what I mean? Even wee things like
That's
that.
Weird to bring that up. I was thinking this morning about verrucas. It's not something I usually do now, but
I've heard
I came out of the shower and whenever I was stepping on the mattress, I just had this almost like as if I'd repressed the memory of the one time in my life I've had a verruca, and I remember being absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst things. Have you ever had one?
I have. Anytime I lifted my foot and there was like weight coming down on it, it was like horrendous. It was about the size of like a Revel. It was a decent size, like.
Yeah, which is we all know is the global metric system, which is in comparison to Revels. But I remember thinking, because you see in the TV, I just thought it was like some good crack advert where they say bazooka that verruca, but whenever it came to actually having one, it wasn't as fun.
Yeah, because I'm the sort of morbid cunt where I'm like, I'd love to just stab it with a knife. I actually got so annoyed where I was like, I might just get a fucking knife and go and stick it and see what happens, and I'll lose the foot over it to have my curiosity subsided.
Just to see if that would work. And then you could, that could be new medical research that you prescribe to doctors, where you just go, I have this new research I've been working on, which is there was something annoying me, and I just took a cook's knife to it, and I'm now grand. Like that part of my body is gone now forever, but I no longer have the problem. So maybe that's something you can get into. I don't know. And if there's any money that comes from this, you could give me a shout.
Take a bread knife to it. That's the Rory Woods way of doing things. You know what I mean? You know what I was actually going to say to you? I don't know why I blanked there, but what's your living situation now, without giving away your address or anything? Because are you still in the same vibe where there was an old woman? Was this when you were living with Mick Owens? Yeah. Is this
no. I live with Mick years ago. Yeah. No, there used to be a woman of I want to say 80 plus, maybe, that lived above us, and whenever I told it to our good friend Dave Elliott, he was immediately saying BBC sitcom. I get that on the tell that the BBC Three, see what they want. But no, she's gone. She's still on this earthly plane, you know, but she's gone from the country. I think she's down south. She hasn't passed or anything like that. But we were in a lethal living situation there where there was nobody upstairs for about a year and a half. So it was very quiet and we could be as loud as we want. And then now somebody's bought upstairs and I think they're selling ours. So we're on borrowed time. I don't know when we have to move out, but we'll be here for a while. But that's the same. Yeah, we're in the same living scenario. It's all right. It's Belfast and nothing's happening. To be honest, I would have been like, I would have loved to have, if I'd have known. It's obviously a stupid thing to say, but if I'd have known, I would have just like that I was going to be working from home and that nothing would happen. I would have just rang my man and been like, I'm going to come home for 8 months.
Yeah.
And save whatever, 370 quid a month.
Oh, for sure, man. That's the thing, because I sort of considered it myself, but, you know, and I don't know why I didn't, but because I was kind of dead set on it, because I was kind of looking, I was like, well, if I wanted to go somewhere even a bit cheaper during this time or something, but finding somewhere to live in Belfast is, if you're renting particularly, is fucking hard to get somewhere that's not a dump. Like the amount of dump, and even like non-student properties, they're pretty fucking bad as well, unless you sort of go further away from Belfast. Essentially, if you go like towards the outskirts where you're like, I can live in a nice gaff, but I either have to drive everywhere or commute on public transport just to get to work and stuff. Whereas now that's not really a thing. But every place I look at, you're like, it starts quite well. You're like, that looks like a nice room, and then you just see like this purple and orange L-shaped checkered couch, and you're like, get fucked. I can't do it.
Yeah. Who's buying that? Who sells that? I guess is a better question. Like, who's making that couch and going, people will buy this? But I've had that experience.
DFS, I think actually.
It's a different room where if you have a code word for them, they bring you into a different room. It's got all that weird thumb look and stuff, all the live, laugh, love genre of
those people just all decorate. It's like live, laugh, love, and then there's always a canvas of New York, and it's entirely black and white except for one of the cabs.
Yeah. We were talking about that of the girls that my girlfriend are living with were going through like what is an immediate red flag of anybody that they've ever met that could be a potential partner, and that was one of them said immediately like that if I see that poster, that's over. Any of those posters that you're getting at the end of the IKEA journey, where you're going, I've already spent 230 quid. What about a picture of Marilyn Monroe?
They're so grim. I always hate the ones. I don't know if this is a very Strabane thing, super tacky anyway, where it's like, it's supposed to look like an aquarium. So basically it's a sort of box that you hang on your wall, and it's like a picture of like a Caribbean sea, but it's got like bulbs behind it. So when you turn it on, it looks like an aquarium on the cheap, and they stick it up on the wall, like above the TV. And you're like, what are you doing with your life?
I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm some kind of interior decorating master. As you can see, all I've got is the last 3 years of birthday cards my ma gave me, and then a load of postcards that people have brought me back from things, a Twin Peaks record, and then a painting. It's a paper printout of what is an expensive painting, but that cost me 2 quid. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know anything about it, but there is something about like whenever you see that interior design, you're going, how can anybody think that this looks well?
Yeah.
When I see it, I'm thinking you are 40 plus and you're still taking gear every weekend. You're like, there's neglect in elements of your life that you're both giving and receiving. And you're trying to return stuff to the co-op. Like that's the 3 personality types I'm seeing.
So what for you would be a red flag if you were young, free, and single, and a girl invites you back for penetration, and you're like bag deep, and then you look up and see someone out of the corner of your eye? What would be enough for you to pull out and go, Sarah, not happening?
If their family was there, just smoking, going.
Give it here, good.
That's what we're paying for. I don't know. I guess
there's your forks back.
Yeah, and it all comes back around. That's how you end it. That's how you end the Edinburgh show there. Builder's uniform hung up in the corner with the red flag. Those trousers, the Snickers trousers. But no, I don't know. I don't know what would be a red flag. But I know whenever you'd mentioned about the trying to find places, it does always seem to go the same way, where whenever they go up on property, pal, and the image is just the outside of the house and none other, you're like, who are you fooling here? Or you go through and you're like, that looks like it might actually be all right. Like, it's a really nice, like we set up where they've just got like, it looks like a nice enough living room. You're going, maybe that just needs a wee bit of clean air. And then you turn up and like the guy in the suit is going like, come on and I'll show you around. And it's like, like a Barton Fink where like the wallpaper's coming off the walls and like the kitchen's on fire. And then you go upstairs and there's just one guy playing Counter-Strike on his, like, with all the blinds and like loads of Big Mac boxes, loads of empty crisp bags. And then you look around and then you get out the front and the guy in the suit, that's the letting agent guy, still goes like, so what do you think? And you're like, come on, don't.
What did you expect? I tell you what, when you do see someone in one of those houses, you're spot on. It's always some guy who clearly has just lived off takeaways and hasn't left the house in years, but come up with the time. So they're just sitting there playing like Spyro the Dragon, or they're playing a Dreamcast, or like, remember those old dance mats that you used to get for PlayStation? Like, din, din, din.
It's either that, or for some reason they have what is clearly about a $5,000 PC setup with like 3 monitors. But yet
there's no shower.
But yet have not spent have not spent money on any other element of their life. And whenever like a place turns into that, and the guy that's showing you around from like the real estate agent is showing you, like, I would feel more inclined to buy it if he just said like, it is what it is. Like, I hate whenever he always acts as if he's just showing you like, the Ritz-Carlton or something. What do you say? He's interested, or what do you think?
They're very nice around here, as long as you're not black. You're lovely. You'll be well received. Oh,
if you fall into any category that's like below 80% of the population, you're not going to be welcome. Say goodbye to having windows if you're in any minority.
It always seems to be from like my student days when I looked at gaffs, where it was like, I didn't even realize recently that there's a difference between a letting agent and an estate agent. I think a letting agent is the worst, where they're like, I don't think they're even on commission or anything, so they don't really give a fuck. Where they're just like, oh, no matter what the issue is with the house, they'll just say, oh, we'll paint over it. And you're like, well, what about that dead ferret there in the bath? We'll paint over it, or paint around it if you like it. We can keep it if you want. And everything's pine.
Your choice, man. Listen.
Pine fridge.
Your
pine
place
beds,
now.
Everything. Oh, bogging.
Yeah, it is bad. I've had places like that where you ring up and you're like, we've moved in here, and there is like mold that appears to have a heartbeat in the corner. And then like they go, oh, don't worry, we'll sort that out. And then you come back in from whatever it is, work or uni at the time, and it is again just a guy dressed in those trousers of the pockets, like a wee like tin of deluxe, just going sorted now. And like I can still see it's actually grown over in the 2 seconds since you painted it. So I'm going to need this to work.
Like fucking poison ivy or something. That happened to us like a couple of weeks ago, maybe a bit longer. I was doing Zoom podcast with Paddy McDonald, and earlier that fantastic day, so that was obviously a 6-hour fucking job. But earlier that day, like in my sort of entrance to my living room, when you stood, there was obviously a leak, and it turns out it's from the flat above, or floors. And if you stood on the floor a wee bit, water would come up. So I reported it. Later on that evening, I do the podcast with Paddy McDonald, finish up, come out, and Lisa's literally mopping the whole flat. The whole place is fucking flooded. And it took about 6 weeks for our landlord to actually come out and assess the damage. So we were just sitting here going, it's like a round from Total Wipeout, trying to get from one room to another here. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, I'm putting my fucking Michael Phelps here. And I had to get Speedos just to go and make a fucking cup of tea. And they're like, it flooded.
Joe Pasquale has been looking in the window for 6 weeks with a video camera, and you...
Do you know what I mean? And you have to wonder with like these fucking dodgy agents where like, I don't mean agents like the Matrix or anything, but I mean like, I wonder what would need to happen for them to show any sense of like urgency. You know what I mean? Where like, I'm on fire, my wife's on fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The house is now subsequently on fire.
Yeah.
Do you want to send someone out? Do you want to, we rung the fire brigade, but you don't seem to do anything your end. What do you want to do about? And I said, we'll assess the damage. There's literally nothing to assess. The whole flat is burned down. We need somewhere soonish. Live.
This does not need a review. I've given you the facts, which is that I am currently ablaze. There is actually the walls are actually now talking. I don't know if there's some odd possession that's going on, but the house actually now has a soul and is speaking to us. And we really think, I don't know if you have and they're like, we just ring this number. It's an exorcist. Just tell them it's us. And
there's a woman climbing out of the TV, screaming up and on a bypass. What the fuck is happening? But I tell you what, they have this they have this real ability, man, where it's like you ring them up with any problem and they have this real, and it's genius on their part. They make it out like you're the one that's being awkward about it, even though really you're just going, our fridge is broke. But they phrase it in such a way where they've done you a favor by replacing it. They're like, well, you know, we'll have to get someone out and get you another one. And then you feel bad because you're putting them out. Oh, sorry to be such a pain, even though it's a basic right to go, we need a fridge or an oven.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh, my air fryer's broke, can you replace it? This is stuff that they should be starting. And they have the ability to make you feel like a cunt for asking.
Big time. I've had that loads of places. I had a place before where the first place I rented in Belfast, I lost the key and they charged me 168 quid because they said that they needed to get a guy out to change all the locks. And I was like, right. And like, obviously, like I needed to get into the flat and they weren't going to budge on it. So I just had to do it. And like, it took the guy did come around to change the locks, but it was a 5-minute job. I had places where, same kind of thing where they go, we've noticed that like a bit of blue tack in the bottom corner of your room so that we're going to have to take your deposit. And you're going, right, fine. And also at 50 quid of every pay you get for the next 10 years is going to be coming to us as well because of that. And I've also had one where, luckily, the guy, before we go on to the last one, the guy that we're with at the minute's class. He doesn't seem to go through any agent. It's just him, and he's very like anything that we've had. Like I think the washing machine broke at a time, and the fridge broke whenever we moved in, and he genuinely just gave us a number to ring and say that like he'd asked us to call, and there was somebody around the next day to fix it. So it's like the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
But there was another place I was in before this where the ceiling was starting to like crack.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I go, the ceiling's starting to crack here. If you could maybe get someone to come out to get a look. And it took, it was maybe a couple of weeks, and then the guy came around to look, same kind of elder guy, and he was like, aye, that's going to come in, but I'll see if I can sort something. And then he was gone for a while, and I was in the corner, so I thought it was all right. And we were sitting in the living room watching TV. And like immediately all the full like roof came in on it and like it cut me down the face and stuff. And then we left and we rang the landlord. This is just on the topic of what you mentioned about what's it going to take for them to come around. I rang the landlord and I was like, the roof has come in on us here in the living room. The one remember the roof I was telling you about? And it's kind of cut me here. And the guy goes, the roof hasn't come in. And I went, no, it has. And he goes, it's the ceiling. And I went, all right, sorry, let me rephrase it. The ceiling has come in.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And terminology.
And we were like, could somebody come around here to get a look at this? And he was like, well, what? The ceiling is now in. What are we going to do about it? And I'm like, you know what? Fair point.
You can't argue.
Because I can't argue with him saying like, he was basically just going like, well, what am I going to do about it? I was like, I don't know, man. It's your house. Do you maybe think you could send somebody around? We now don't have a living room, and there's ceiling everywhere. There's ceiling in my eyes and in my ears. And every piece of electronic equipment I have now is dusted. It's a thin veneer of ceiling. Yeah. And he's like, all right, I'll get somebody around to see it. And then a month of just us not having a living room. He came around. And he goes, sorry about that, and give us a bottle of wine.
That's definitely, that is a gesture and a very polite one, but it doesn't match the magnitude of why you're doing it. No, if you go, if there was something minor, like get you a bottle of wine, so if something like a door handle fell off, but when the ceiling comes in, you should be getting a trip to a vineyard. If that's his thinking. Yeah. You should be, or a trip to Cosmo, I don't know.
Yeah, you need to take me out to Cosmo now, just the two of us, and it's on you.
Yeah.
And I'm getting everything. I'm getting all 75 cuisines, and I'm getting, duck fried bat, medium rare.
I wonder if you did one bit of food from everything on the one plate. What would that entail? So you're getting, say, a wonton, a burger.
Yeah. Well, they've done it well. because they know they've utilized the psychology of give them very small plates because they have to keep going up. And by the time it takes their body to digest whatever, it means they will feel full after like a plate and a half. So we're just going to take the money. Because in your head, you're like, I'm going to eat for an hour and a half here. But really, in reality, it's what? Yeah. Three slices of pizza and then a wee bit of steak from, like you said, that guy that looks like he's got a death wish. And then you're done. I don't know. I think, I like a couple of slices of the pizza because it's like party pizza that reminds me of being like 6 where you have to go to a school birthday. You want to do party food first, I think. Couple of wee slider burgers, few slices of pizza, curly fries, goujons, things like that. And then go into the fancy stuff, maybe. What's that? Your duck pancakes, your
ramen, Wagyu beef steaks, and
the thing that they do where you have to eat a live sparrow while they're drowning it. Even that one.
You gotta love the people.
I wanted to do.
I imagine if there's just no one who doesn't have a clue and they just get a bit of everything. So there's this guy like dipping the hot dog into the ramen, battered sausage. Who gets a hot dog and a battered sausage?
Yeah, he's been under a set of stairs his whole life. He's been trapped there by like whatever it is, and this is his first day out, and he doesn't really know how. He doesn't know how food works. I was trying to work on a bit, which I'm very excited to do in about 2023 whenever we get back to Lavery's. And I don't know what the joke is yet, but the premise was meant to be about similar thing you're talking about there, where I feel like we're in a very overindulgent state of the world when, you know, there are more food shows with Jon Favreau than there are impoverished countries in like in the world.
Yeah.
And like whenever you're watching them, like it's all nice food, but that food is not for anybody. Like you don't feel hungry for that food. And I wanted to do where I had a game show, which is it better than a McDonald's though?
Right.
And I don't know what the bit is yet, but it's something along the lines of like they get the guy, like you said, the chef with the fucking heroin addiction and the neck tattoo brings you out, you know, 6 rounds of all that stuff, you know, like duck-fed duck with duck sauce and whatever it is, live sparrow, and like porridge, the box set that you just deep fat fries, and like all that, and then like, you know, soup, as you said, and he brings out all that stuff, and you have to eat the full thing, and then whenever you're finished up, there's a boy with a lie detector test and a rifle comes in, and
the rat,
and he straps it to that. That's right. And he goes, you like all that food there? And he goes, that was a lovely. It's obviously for people that say they've got a refined palate.
Yeah.
And he's like, I like that meal. You go, all right, just one more question. It says yes on the thing, and I'm like, all right, one more question then. Would you instead eat a Big Mac right now? And if you're lying, sorry, if you say yes and you're telling the truth, you get the whole thing paid for you. If you're lying, then they just shoot you dead and give your ma the bill.
That's definitely. I look forward to hearing that in a couple of years for sure.
I don't know. Do you have that thing with comedy where you have an idea and you're like, this would be a good bit if I could get any jokes into it?
Oh yeah, where you're like, I have a premise, but I fuck all else. You're like, there's
because that's what that is. I'm like, I wrote down that as a premise, and I'm like, I now need to think of jokes in it.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
I know. I can't remember the last time I did it, but I have been in situations where I was like, the last premise that I had that I never really explored, but I just couldn't really think of maybe enough to make it a bit was, and then there was a couple of things that were very similar to it. It was a lot of people were saying, I think Gaddis did a bit about it, and then Kevin Bridges did it as well, where it was like when Savile was out as a pedo, they both said, oh, if you were to look up a picture of a pedophile, or if you were to look up pedophile in the dictionary, it would be a picture of Savile.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people did something along those lines, but I was actually a bit where it was like, who's in the unfortunate situation where they need to actually look up what a pedophile is? Do you know what I mean? So I was trying to think, who legit doesn't know what that is, and accidentally books one for their kid's party, thinking, is that not the guy who spins loads of plates at the same time? Like, no, this is slightly more sinister. Do you know what I mean? So like that was a premise I always had. I never did anything with it for that reason, where I couldn't think of much more than what I've just said to you, to be honest.
Yeah, like I thought that was the term for a foot specialist. And I've looked them up. There's a couple of you get a couple of really like annoying moments like that where you have a bit and you have the whole thing worked out, and then you watch like a new Bill Burr special and he does the exact same bit, and you're like, and he'll do it 10 times better than you obviously would have ever written it.
That's a thing for sure, in the whole idea of no joke thievery and all, where you're like, there's just certain things that there's only so many comedic twists you can make to it, unless you're like Chappelle, who's on that higher level. But for everybody else, I'm not bunching us some way Bill Burr and whoever else, but like there's only certain ways you can do it, and and eventually everybody does a version of the same thing. Like, and I think if you get in there first, say if it was just our scene, if you get in there first with the stronger version of it, it's kind of yours. But don't be surprised if a new story breaks and everyone's doing something on it. Like I've only got lucky with the Jerry Adams cookbook bit, but when that dropped, whatever night I think it was Pugs or Lavery's, everybody was doing stuff on it, when it was the same idea where it was themed recipes to do with Northern Irish terrorism, essentially. So I got lucky in that I had what would be deemed the sort of the stronger bit, but everybody was doing it. You know, I just got lucky. But how many times?
I remember another big one. Another big one for that was the. Do you remember whenever Liam Leeson had they were all like kind of the race thing about going out and hunting? They was out looking for somebody that had attacked his friend, and everybody had that was a bit. I remember at the time where I was like, the moment that story came out, I went, "There's going to be loads of comedians that have like that means Protestant over here." And I was like, who can get to that one the quickest? Or I'm fairly certain everybody in Belfast has a joke that has the line "chicken ball special" as a punchline.
I'm trying to think. I probably do, to be fair.
Well,
I think
before
I let you go, I do want to talk about something that kind of relates to what we're talking about. What is your verdict on Guacamole up beside Lavery's? We're speaking about places that do mad shit. Guacamole is mental. Apparently it's lit as fuck at the weekends too. Well, not these days, but pre-COVID.
They used to have, and shit. Well, it's not beside Lavery's anymore. It's now up. It's up across. It's closed and it's across the road. But so I don't know what the rationale was of. Oh, fuck! I don't know if the. It looks like I've just decided this is the moment I've become very relaxed in this podcast, but it was entirely accidental, and I feel quite stressed by the shock of it there. But it's across the road. I have never had it before or after 4 a.m.
Okay.
So I don't really know. Like I remember going in, but I never remember what it tastes like. And I'm going back further here.
How far back can that chair go?
I don't know. I didn't know it could go back until right now. But
see how far I can go back.
If you want to make this podcast a couple more hours, we'll just keep going until I slowly fall asleep.
It's like a thing in like Star Wars, when Darth Vader's revealed in episodes. You're doing the reverse.
Yeah, I go back down, and that's the reveal that it was me. I wouldn't want to do that though, because there's no. I'll get back to the guacamole thing. I don't want to sidetrack here, but the worst feeling in the world is falling asleep and waking up at 3 a.m. and all your lights are on.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's the terrible because if you either do it because you're that drunk and you just like you fall asleep on top of your bed with all the lights on, or you were like in the middle of something and in some very bizarre like narcoleptic episode have just passed back. But guacamole, I don't know. I mean, what is it? It's like a buffet, but it's got like Chinese food in it, is it? It's got like
Chinese, Mexican
stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I have seen footage. Anytime I used to be walking home at maybe like 2 or 3 a.m, whenever it was still beside Lavery's, you're right. It would be like that. Is that a new club that opens after?
Yeah.
And what's weird is that the staff are playing the music, but also look like they're really hating it. But there's no way. Like there's no way that they have to be doing it, because if they are annoyed, the only rationale would be that every weekend without fail a student hijacks behind like they like leak the register to take control of the Spotify. So they can't pretend like they're distraught by the whole affair, because they've clearly engineered it that way.
They play the music and they look like they've never heard it before. They're just playing like Darude, and they're just like, is this the popular music with the kids? But maybe, as you're right, someone hijacks an aux cable or it's like, what's the Bluetooth password, and I'll play it from the phone. But it's just interesting for it to be such a hardcore raven, and I assume at some point you've seen someone, you know, using the glow stick fucking dance, but instead of glow sticks, it's just spring rolls, I think.
Yeah, that's where they could, if they could mix that now, where they have, like we talked about earlier, those kind of nuclear drinks, if they could fuse that into the spring rolls.
Oh, it'd be fucking.
That's £1 million right there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let me say, before I let you go, I take it you've no gigs in the diary as of right now.
Nothing at all. Me and McCann doing that some show thing. We're going to do another one of them whenever the rules are all right to do it again. And doing, like, I've got a couple of sketches that I've shot that I'm going to put online. So while I'm editing, I'm going to get online soon. But outside of that, like, there's nothing. I think that's probably what everybody's going to have to go to. They're going to have to start doing a few more online things just to kind of keep themselves taking over.
Very true. Explain very briefly some show and where people can find it before we finish.
It's on the internet, if anybody's have that there. It's on a website called www.youtube.com. And if you type in some show, or if you type in me or Aaron's name along with that, you should get it. It's Aaron rang me one time and said that he wanted to do something that was, which I'm happy enough with, because with podcasts and stuff, I always feel like, and obviously you're probably in a nice place now where you've settled down into your own show and stuff, but I always feel like anytime I've had to go on to do them, the pressure of knowing that it's always on makes you struggle to think of things to talk about.
Yeah.
Whereas he said, let's just do it where we put the cameras on for about 2 hours and we'll just edit the best 20 minutes out of it. And then what inevitably happens is, because you don't feel the pressure, there's more funny stuff that happens anyway. So basically, it's just a show where anybody who doesn't have the attention span for podcasts and wants to see something that's chopped down to 20 minutes of the best bits, it's just us chatting. It's in video format, and we'll probably keep it that way. And you can get it on YouTube there if you just want to have a look. Only one so far, but we're going to try and get a run. The plan is to try and get a run of maybe about 6, and try and do like maybe one a week, where we put out one a week for 6 weeks and then have a long break and then do another set. So we just have like maybe once a year, in the same way like a show would have seasons. We're going to try and do.
Yeah. So will people need to get their laptops or PCs chipped to watch these, or is it all right?
Yes, in fact, we are actually in a business endeavor at the minute with a guy where it's a kind of, I guess it's, you know, it's kind of a pyramid scheme in a way, but basically to watch the show, we have a guy called Coke Joe. He also sells other products that you might recognize from the name, and you contact him, he ships your laptop, and you're able to get it on YouTube. It's on the YouTube dark web. It's on Tor.
So you're both doing the show naked, basically. That's why it's on the dark web. It's just
well, the content itself very PG, but you're right, the visuals are not.
Yeah, the up close taint is a bit weird, but you know, avant-garde.
Well, that was the working title.
Zoom taint, which is what I do, which is what I'm doing after this. Yeah, but that's cool. So I'll tell people, I'll put the link to the first episode onto this episode, because I'm technologically sound like that. We'll do a fake goodbye before, just for the purpose of the edit, but we'll stay in the room.
Do you want to do a wee, I can do this here. I found out whenever I was trying to do the setup, where I can have it make it look like, you know, like a Price is Right, or like an 80s game show, where it like zooms out as I'm waving by. Do you want to do it? Right, yeah. So you can say the bye and I'll do the wave.
All right, all the best, Robbie. Thank you very much. Take it easy.
All right, thanks very much for having me. See you later.